I stood alone in the pediatric surgery waiting room at 6 in the morning, clutching my phone with 12 unanswered calls to my mother. My 7-year-old son Ethan was being prepped for his tonsillectomy, terrified and asking for his grandmother. She had promised to be here. They all had. My sister, my brother, my father. A family of 5, and I was the only one who showed up. 3 days later, my mother texted asking for $5,000 for my sister's wedding dress. I sent her 50 cents with a note that said, "Buy a veil." Growing up in suburban Michigan, I always thought I had the perfect family. We lived in a modest split-level home with a maple tree in the front yard and a swing set out back. Sunday dinners were mandatory, holidays were elaborate affairs, and we took family photos every year in matching outfits. From the outside, we looked like something from a greeting card. But inside that picture, perfect frame, there was an unspoken understanding about my role. I was the responsible one. The peacemaker. The one who made sure everyone else was okay, even if it meant putting myself last. My mother would say it with pride, like it was a compliment. "You're so mature for your age. So dependable. Not like your sister." Claire, my younger sister, was the free spirit. The creative one. The one who needed extra support, extra understanding, extra money. Marcus, my older brother, was the golden child. The athlete who could do no wrong, even when he was doing plenty wrong. And I was the glue that held everything together. The one who sacrificed so everyone else could shine. I got married at 25 to a man named Derek. It was a small wedding because we were saving money for a house. Claire's wedding, which was happening now, had a budget 3 times the size of mine, and I was somehow expected to contribute to that too. My marriage lasted 5 years before Derek and I realized we wanted different things. The divorce was amicable, civil, and lonely. I got primary custody of Ethan, our son, who was 5 at the time. Being a single mother changed everything. Suddenly, I was responsible not just for myself, but for this tiny human who depended on me for everything. I threw myself into my work as a hospital administrator at Mercy General, managing finances and operations for the surgical wing. The irony wasn't lost on me that I spent my days ensuring other people's families were taken care of while barely keeping my own life together. But I was making it work. I had a decent salary, a small but comfortable townhouse in a good school district, and a savings account that I contributed to every month without fail. I drove a 7-year-old Honda Civic that ran perfectly fine, and I clipped coupons not because I had to, but because I'd learned that financial security meant being smart with every dollar. Ethan was my world. He had my dark hair and his father's green eyes, and a smile that could light up a room. He was sensitive, artistic, and loved dinosaurs with a passion that bordered on obsession. His bedroom was covered in posters of T-Rexes and Triceratops, and he could tell you facts about the Jurassic period that would put most adults to shame. But for the past year, he'd been sick constantly. Strep throat every few months, tonsillitis that left him feverish and miserable, missing school and unable to eat anything but popsicles and broth. Our pediatrician, Dr. Sarah Chen, finally said what he'd been dreading. His tonsils need to come out. It's a routine surgery, but it's necessary. I scheduled it immediately. The date was set for a Friday morning in late October, 6 in the morning at Mercy General, the same hospital where I worked. It felt safer somehow, having it done at my workplace, where I knew every hallway and trusted every doctor. 2 weeks before the surgery, I gathered my family together after Sunday dinner. Everyone was there, plates scraped clean from the pot roast I'd spent all day making. I stood up, nervous in a way that felt ridiculous. This was my family. They loved me. "I need to tell you something," I started. "Ethan's having surgery in 2 weeks. His tonsils are coming out." My mother's hand flew to her chest. "Oh, honey, is he okay?" "He will be. Doctor Chen says it's routine, but he's scared." It's at 6 in the morning on Friday the 23rd. My mother immediately stood up and came around the table to hug me. "I'll be there." "I wouldn't miss it for the world, honey. What kind of grandmother would I be?" Claire, who was scrolling through her phone, looked up. "I'll bring coffee and breakfast. Hospital cafeteria coffee is terrible." Marcus, lounging in his chair like he owned the place, nodded. "I'll take the day off work. The kid needs his uncle there." My father, quiet as always, gave a firm nod. "I'll drive in. 2 hours isn't that far. I'll leave at 4 in the morning." Relief flooded through me. This was it. This was my family showing up when it mattered. Ethan, who'd been sitting quietly beside me, broke into a huge smile. "Everyone's going to be there when I wake up. Everyone," my mother confirmed, ruffling his hair. "Well, be the first faces you see." That night, putting Ethan to bed, he was still excited. "Mom, do you think Grandma will bring me a present?" "Maybe," I said, tucking his dinosaur blanket around him. "But the best present is just having everyone there." "I'm still scared about the surgery," he admitted, his voice small. "I know, baby. But I'll be right there with you. And when you wake up, you'll be surrounded by people who love you." He fell asleep smiling. The next 2 weeks passed in a blur of preparation. I took care of all the pre-surgery paperwork, confirmed our insurance coverage 3 times, packed a bag with Ethan's favorite stuffed animal, a blue triceratops named Spike, and his iPad loaded with dinosaur documentaries. I bought popsicles in every flavor and stocked up on chicken broth and gel. Oh, for his recovery. The night before surgery, I sent a group text to my family. "Tomorrow morning, 6 a.m., Mercy General, main entrance. Surgery starts at 7. Thank you all for being there." My mother replied with a heart emoji. "See you bright and early, Claire." "Got it. I'll be there." Marcus, "See you tomorrow, sis." My father, "Leaving at 4. Won't be late." I barely slept that night. I kept checking the clock, watching the hours tick by. 3 a.m. came and I gave up on sleep entirely. I got up, showered, and made myself coffee. I was too nervous to drink. At 4:30, I woke Ethan gently. He was groggy and quiet, and I helped him into comfortable clothes, just like the pre-surgery instructions said. We arrived at Mercy General at 5:45. The parking lot was nearly empty, just a few cars belonging to night shift staff. I held Ethan's hand as we walked through the automatic doors into the familiar lobby. The registration desk checked us in, and we were sent up to the pediatric surgical wing on the 4th floor. The waiting room was small but comfortable, with chairs arranged around a television playing morning cartoons on mute. I checked my phone. 5:55. My family would be here any minute. 6 o'clock came. The waiting room started filling with other families. A couple arrived with their teenage daughter. An older woman sat knitting while her son filled out paperwork. Everyone had someone. Everyone except us. I called my mother, straight to voicemail. 6:15. I texted the group chat. "We're here. Where are you?" No response. Ethan was sitting beside me, swinging his legs and clutching Spike. "When's Grandma coming?" "Soon, baby. She's probably just running a little late." 6:30. I called Claire. Voicemail. Marcus. Voicemail. My father. Nothing. A nurse came out, clipboard in hand. "Ethan Anderson." My heart sank. "Yes, that's us. We're ready for him. You can come back with him to pre-op." I looked at the door, willing my family to walk through it. Ethan looked up at me. "Mom, where is everyone?" I forced a smile that felt like it might crack my face open. "They must be stuck in traffic, sweetie. But I'm here. I'm right here with you." We followed the nurse down a long hallway to a pre-op room. Ethan changed into a hospital gown that was way too big for him, and I helped him onto the bed. A different nurse came in to take his vitals and start his IV. He was so brave, barely flinching, but his eyes kept darting to the door. "Is Grandma coming?" he asked the nurse. Like maybe she would have an answer I didn't. "I'm sure your family will be here soon," she said kindly, giving me a sympathetic look that made me want to cry. I called my mother again. Again, nothing. I sent another text. "Ethan is in pre-op. He keeps asking for you. Please, where are you?" The anesthesiologist came in. A friendly woman named Dr. Patricia Lopez, who I'd worked with before. She explained the procedure to Ethan in simple terms. Told him he'd feel sleepy and then wake up with a sore throat but no more infections. She was kind and gentle, and Ethan seemed to relax a little. But he kept looking past her, looking for his grandmother, his aunt, his uncle, his grandfather, looking for the family that promised to be there. At 7 o'clock exactly, they came to take him to surgery. I was allowed to walk with him as far as the operating room doors. He held Spike in one hand and my hand in the other, and I could feel him trembling. "I love you so much," I told him, kissing his forehead. "You're the bravest kid in the world. I'll be right here waiting when you wake up." Just you. His voice was so small it broke my heart into pieces. Just me, I admitted. Because I couldn't lie to him anymore. His eyes filled with tears, but the anesthesia mask went over his face before they could fall. I watched his eyes flutter closed, watched him go limp and peaceful. And then they wheeled him through the double doors and I wasn't allowed to follow. I walked back to the waiting room alone. It was 7:05 in the morning. I had 12 missed calls to my mother, 8 texts to my father, 6 to Claire, and 5 to Marcus. Not a single response. I sat down in a chair by the window and finally let myself look at the truth I'd been avoiding. They weren't coming. They hadn't been stuck in traffic. There was no emergency. They simply chose not to show up. The surgery took 2 hours. 2 hours of me sitting in that waiting room, surrounded by other families who chatted and laughed and supported each other. 2 hours of me staring at my phone, checking it compulsively even though I knew no one was going to call. A woman sitting across from me, maybe in her 60s, smiled warmly. "Is your little one in surgery?" "Yes," I managed. "Tonsillectomy. Routine but still scary," she said. "My grandson's getting his appendix out. The whole family came. That's him over there." She pointed to a little boy about Ethan's age, currently being entertained by what looked like at least 6 different relatives. "That's wonderful," I said, and meant it, even though it felt like a knife in my chest. At 8:45, Dr. Martinez, the surgeon, came out. I jumped up so fast I nearly knocked over my cold coffee. "Everything went perfectly," he said, smiling. "No complications." "He did great. Hell, be in recovery for about an hour, and then you can see him." Relief washed over me so intensely I had to sit back down. "Thank you. Thank you so much. Has a tough kid." "Doctor," Martinez said, "you should be proud." I was proud. I was also furious and heartbroken and confused, but mostly I was just grateful that Ethan was okay. At 9:30, they let me into the recovery room. Ethan was awake but groggy, his eyes unfocused and his throat obviously hurting. When he saw me, he tried to smile, but it came out more like a grimace. "Hey, baby," I said, taking his hand. "You did it. You were so brave. Did they come?" His voice was raspy and small. I wanted to lie. I wanted to tell him they were in the waiting room, that they'd just missed him, that they sent their love. But I couldn't do that to him. "No, sweetie. They didn't make it. But I'm here. I'm right here." He closed his eyes, and a single tear rolled down his cheek. He was 7 years old and already learning that people you love can let you down. We stayed in recovery for another hour. I took a picture of him with Spike, sent it to the family group chat with no message attached. Just the picture of my son, alone except for me and a stuffed dinosaur, recovering from surgery that they'd all promised to be there for. Finally, my mother responded. 3 hours too late. "Sorry, sweetie. Something came up." "How did it go?" That was it. No explanation, no apology beyond those 5 words. Just a casual question like she was asking about a dentist appointment. Claire texted next. "Oops, totally forgot. Was he okay?" Forgot. She forgot, like it was a coffee date or a book club meeting, not a 7-year-old child going under anesthesia. Marcus didn't respond at all. My father sent a text at 10:30. "Got busy. Tell Ethan Grandpa says hi." Got busy. I stared at those messages, reading them over and over, trying to find some hidden meaning that would make this okay. But there wasn't one. It was exactly what it looked like. They didn't care enough to show up. I typed out a dozen different responses. Angry ones, hurt ones, questioning ones. I deleted them all. What was the point? They'd already shown me exactly where I ranked in their priorities. By 11, Ethan was cleared to go home. I helped him into a wheelchair, hospital policy, and pushed him out to the car. He was quiet the whole way, not his usual chatty self. I got him settled in the back seat with extra pillows and his blanket, and we stopped at the pharmacy to pick up his pain medication. Then I drove to the grocery store and bought every flavor of popsicle they had. Ice cream, pudding, gel, anything soft and cold that might make him feel a little bit better. The checker was friendly, asking about my day. I said it was fine. What else do you say? At home, I got Ethan settled on the couch with cartoons and a popsicle. He fell asleep within 20 minutes, exhausted from the ordeal. I sat beside him, watching his chest rise and fall, grateful he was okay and devastated that this was how his day had gone. That's when I finally let myself look at social media. I shouldn't have. I knew I shouldn't have. But I opened the app anyway. My mother's profile was right at the top of my feed, posted at 7:28 that morning. A picture of her at some fancy brunch spot downtown, mimosas in crystal glasses, a plate of eggs Benedict in front of her. She was with 3 of her friends, all of them dressed up and smiling. The caption read, "Best morning with my girls. Nothing like good food and good company." The timestamp, 7:28. Right when Ethan was going into surgery. Right when Shed told me Shed be there. I scrolled further. Claire's profile. A picture from a yoga class. Sunday self-care. Loving this new hot yoga studio. Posted at 7:15. Marcus. A selfie from a golf course. He was holding a club, grinning at the camera. Perfect weather for 18 holes. Posted at 7:45. They weren't busy with emergencies. They weren't stuck in traffic. They weren't dealing with unexpected crises. They were at brunch, at yoga, playing golf. They had chosen not to come. They had woken up that morning, gotten dressed, and gone about their day like they hadn't made a promise to a 7-year-old child. Like I hadn't asked them for this one thing. I felt something shift inside me. It wasn't sadness anymore. It was clarity. I looked back through my photos, through my memories. My college graduation. I'd walked across that stage to get my bachelor's degree with honors, and my family wasn't there. They'd gone to a football game instead. Marcus' team was playing in some championship, and that was more important. My wedding to Derek. Small and simple, but I'd still hoped my family would be excited. They showed up but left early. Claire had a date. Marcus had a party. My mother had a headache. When Ethan was born, I was in labor for 14 hours. My mother showed up 3 days later. "You know how busy I get," Shed said. My divorce. The day I signed the papers, ending my marriage, feeling like I'd failed at something fundamental. I'd called my mother crying. Shed said, "These things happen," and changed the subject to Claire's new boyfriend. Every time I needed them, they weren't there. But every time they needed me, I dropped everything. When Claire needed money for college because Shed blown her savings on a trip to Europe, I gave her $8,000 from my savings. She never paid me back. When Marcus' business was failing and he needed a loan, I gave him $12,000. He paid back $3,000. When my parents needed help with their mortgage after my father lost his job, I paid it for 6 months. They never acknowledged it once the crisis passed. I hosted every holiday, every Thanksgiving, every Christmas, every Easter. I bought gifts for everyone. I remembered birthdays. I sent cards. I called to check in. And they couldn't show up for 2 hours on a Friday morning. I sat there on my couch, my son sleeping beside me, and I felt something I hadn't let myself feel before. Anger. Real, justified, burning anger. But I still didn't respond to their texts. I still didn't call them out. Because part of me still believed that if I just stayed quiet, if I just let it go, everything would go back to normal. We'd all pretend this didn't happen, and we'd be a family again. Except we'd never really been the family I thought we were. The next 2 days were hard. Ethan's recovery wasn't complicated, but it was painful. His throat hurt, he could barely eat, and he was miserable in the way only a sick, 7-year-old can be. I took off work, something I rarely did, and devoted myself entirely to taking care of him. I set alarms for his pain medication, made sure he stayed hydrated, brought him popsicles every hour. We watched every dinosaur documentary on his iPad twice. I read him stories until my voice was hoarse. At night, I slept on the floor beside his bed in case he needed me. My family sent occasional texts. "How's he doing?" "Nothing more." Just checking a box so they could say they'd asked. I responded briefly. "Fine. Better. Healing." I didn't elaborate. I didn't invite conversation. My best friend Jordan, who worked with me in hospital administration, came over on Sunday afternoon. She brought soup from Ethan's favorite restaurant and a new dinosaur toy that made him smile for the first time in days. After Ethan was settled in his room playing with the toy, Jordan and I sat in the kitchen. I made tea I didn't drink and stared at the wall. "Are you going to tell me what's wrong?" Jordan asked. "And don't say nothing. Because I've known you for 5 years and I've never seen you like this. So I told her everything. The surgery, the waiting room, the social media posts, the casual texts afterward. I showed her the messages, the timestamps, the evidence of my family's complete indifference. Jordan's face went through several emotions: shock, disgust, anger. By the time I finished, she looked ready to drive to my mother's house and start a fight. "Are you kidding me?" she said. "They were at brunch? They were golfing. Apparently. And they haven't even really apologized." "Not really. Just casual, something came up and forgot like it was nothing." Jordan leaned back in her chair, shaking her head. "What would they do if you treated them this way?" "I'd never thought about it like that." "I don't know. I've never done it." "Exactly. Because you show up. You always show up. You're the one who hosts holidays, who gives money, who drops everything when they need something. And the one time you ask them for something, they can't be bothered." Hearing her say it out loud made it real in a way it hadn't been before. "What do I do?" I asked. "What do you want to do?" "I don't know. Part of me wants to scream at them. Part of me wants to just cut them off completely. But they're my family." "Are they though?" Jordan asked. "Because family shows up. Family keeps promises, especially to kids. This isn't family behavior. This is people who are used to taking from you and giving nothing back." She was right. I knew she was right, but knowing it and accepting it were two different things. "You need to set boundaries," Jordan said. "Real ones. Not the pretend ones where you say you're upset and then let them guilt you into giving in anyway. Actual consequences." "Like what?" "Like stop giving them money. Stop hosting holidays. Stop being available whenever they snap their fingers. See what happens when you're not the one holding everything together." It sounded terrifying. It also sounded necessary. Jordan left around dinner time, making me promise I'd think about what she said. I did think about it. I thought about little else. That night, after Ethan fell asleep, I sat in my living room scrolling through my bank statements. Years of transactions told a story I'd been refusing to read. 8,000 to Claire for college, 12,000 to Marcus for his business, 6 mortgage payments for my parents, each one over $2,000. Smaller amounts too, a few hundred here for Claire's car repair, 500 there for Marcus' rent, 1,000 for my mother's emergency dental work. I added it up. In 8 years, it'd given my family over $30,000. It'd never asked for it back. They'd never offered. I looked at my credit card statement and saw charges I didn't recognize. Starbucks, Nordstrom, some restaurant downtown. Then I remembered. It'd given Claire access to my credit card 2 years ago for emergencies only. Shed used it 17 times in the past 3 months. Nothing huge, $20 here, $40 there. But Shed never asked, never even mentioned it. I checked my bank account settings. My parents had access, linked from years ago when my father was unemployed, and I wanted to make sure they could transfer money if they needed it for bills. It never removed their access. Why would I? They were my parents. Except now I was seeing it differently. I was seeing how easy it'd made it for them to take from me. How I'd set up my entire life to accommodate their needs while never considering my own. Day 3 after surgery. Wednesday morning. Ethan was feeling a bit better, actually eating pudding and keeping it down. I was exhausted but functioning. Already thinking about having to go back to work the next week and figuring out who could watch him since he couldn't go back to school yet. My phone buzzed. A text from my mother. "Hi, honey. Need to talk to you about something important." My heart jumped. Maybe this was it. Maybe she was calling to apologize, to explain, to make things right. I called her back immediately. "Hello." Her voice was cheerful, light. "Mom, hi. You said you needed to talk." "Yes." "So, Claire's wedding is in 2 months." I waited. This wasn't an apology. She found the most beautiful dress. It's perfect for her, exactly what she's been dreaming of. "That's great," I said, confused about why this required a phone call. "The thing is, it's a bit expensive. $5,000. And with everything else we're paying for with the wedding, we're running a little short." A cold feeling settled in my stomach. "You're doing so well financially," my mother continued. "Good job, stable income." And we thought, well, it would be perfect if you could cover the dress as your gift to Claire. She'd be so grateful. Silence. I couldn't form words. "It's really important to her," my mother added. "And you know how weddings are. This is her special day. You want me to pay $5,000 for Claire's wedding dress? I finally managed. As your gift? Yes. Family helps family, right? That's what we've always said. Family helps family. The words Eid lived by my entire life. The words that had been used to extract money, time, energy, and effort from me over and over again. I need to think about it, I heard myself say. There was a pause. Think about it? Olivia, it's your sister's wedding, what's there to think about? I need some time. Well, don't take too long. She needs to put a deposit down by Friday. My mother hung up. No mention of the surgery. No asking how Ethan was doing. Just a demand for $5,000, delivered like it was the most reasonable request in the world. I sat there holding my phone, and something inside me snapped. Not loudly, not dramatically. Just a quiet break, clean and final. I stared at my mother's contact information for a long time. Part of me wanted to call back and scream. Part of me wanted to just ignore it and hope it went away. But I knew neither of those things would work. This wasn't going away. This was the pattern of my entire adult life, and it would continue until I stopped it. I thought about Ethan, sleeping in the hospital bed with no one but me there. I thought about the 12 unanswered phone calls. I thought about the brunch photos and yoga selfies and golf course pictures. I thought about $30,000 given and never returned. I thought about being taken for granted, over and over and over again. And I thought about what Jordan had said. Real boundaries, real consequences. That evening, Ethan was well enough to sit at the kitchen table for dinner. Nothing solid yet, just broth and gel. Oh, but being up and around was progress. He was quiet, still recovering, but I could see his usual spark starting to come back. "Mom," he said as I cleared his bowl. "Yeah, baby. Why didn't they come?" "To the hospital." I could have made excuses. I could have protected them, like I always did. But something had changed in me. I don't know, Ethan. But it wasn't okay. You deserved better than that. He nodded, processing. "Are you mad at them?" "Yes." I said honestly. "I am." "Me too," he said quietly. After he went to bed, I opened my laptop. I logged into my bank account and looked at all the linked access. My mother, my father, the shared account Id set up years ago for family emergencies that they could access any time. I looked at my credit card account. Claire's name, linked as an authorized user. I made coffee, even though it was 9 at night. I needed to stay awake for this. I needed to think clearly. My phone buzzed again. My mother. "Have you thought about it? Claire needs to put a deposit down tomorrow." Tomorrow. Less than 24 hours to decide whether to give $5,000 to a sister who couldn't be bothered to show up to my son's surgery. I put the phone down and went back to my laptop. I opened my payment app, the one I used to send money to friends, to pay for things quickly. I looked at Claire's contact information. I typed in an amount. 50 cents. In the memo line I typed, "Buy a veil." My hand hovered over the send button. This would change everything. This was crossing a line I'd never crossed before. This was saying no, but louder than I'd ever said it. I hit send. The transaction went through immediately. 50 cents. Sent to Claire. With a message that made my intentions crystal clear. My heart was pounding. I felt sick and exhilarated at the same time. I'd just done something I'd never done before. I'd set a boundary. I didn't have to wait long for the response. My phone exploded. First text from Claire. "Are you serious right now?" Then my mother. "Is this a joke? Call me right now." Then Marcus, suddenly very involved. "What's wrong with you?" Then my father. "This isn't like you. What's gotten into you?" More texts came in rapid succession. "Claire. It's my wedding. How can you be this petty?" "Mother. I raised you better than this. Call me immediately." Marcus. "Come on sis, don't be like this, it's just a dress." I turned my phone face down on the table. My hands were shaking but I wasn't backing down. Not this time. I went back to my laptop and looked at my bank account settings again. The shared access. The linked accounts. The credit card with Claire's name on it. If they wanted to treat me like an ATM, fine. But this ATM was going out of service. I clicked through the settings, looking for the option to remove access. It was buried in the security settings. Probably intentionally. Banks don't make it easy to disconnect people. But I found it. Remove authorized user? Yes. Remove linked account access? Yes. Change security questions? Yes. Change password? Yes. Enable two-factor authentication? Yes. Every step I took felt like cutting a cord. Every change was a declaration. You don't get to take from me anymore. My credit card account was next. Remove authorized user, Claire Anderson. Are you sure? Yes, I'm sure. It took almost an hour to lock down everything. Bank accounts, credit cards, investment accounts, even my health savings account. Everything that anyone in my family had access to, I closed off. My phone kept buzzing. I ignored it. By 11 at night, it was done. My accounts were locked down tighter than they'd ever been. My family, for the first time in almost a decade, had no access to my money. I finally looked at my phone. 37 text messages. 14 missed calls. The most recent text was from my mother, sent just 5 minutes ago. If you won't help willingly, fine. Well, take what we need. We have access to your account anyway. I read it 3 times, making sure I wasn't misunderstanding. They were going to take the money without asking. I immediately logged back into my bank app, now paranoid. There, in the pending transactions, I saw them. 2 transfers. Initiated from the linked account. $3,000. Pending. $2,000. Pending. Both from my savings account to my mother's account. Both initiated at 10:40, 2 p.m., less than an hour ago. They'd actually tried to steal from me. The only reason the transfers hadn't completed was because they exceeded the daily transfer limit. They'd tried to take $5,000 from my account without permission, and the only thing that stopped them was a bank security feature. I felt cold all over. This wasn't entitlement. This wasn't just being inconsiderate. This was theft. I immediately called my bank's 24-hour customer service line. A representative answered on the 3rd ring. "Thank you for calling First National Bank. This is Trevor speaking. How can I help you tonight? I need to cancel some pending transfers and report fraud," I said, my voice surprisingly steady. "I can help you with that. Can I have your account number and verify some information?" I went through the security questions, confirmed my identity, and explained the situation. "There are 2 pending transfers that I didn't authorize. Someone with previous account access initiated them." "I see those here," Trevor said, his voice professional. "Transfers of $3,000 and $2,000 to an account ending in 7429. That's my mother's account. I removed her access tonight, but apparently she tried to transfer money before I could complete the security changes. I can cancel these transfers immediately," Trevor said. "They haven't cleared yet, so the funds will remain in your account. Please. And I need to make sure no one can access my accounts except me. I'm showing here that you've already removed all linked accounts and authorized users. Your accounts are secure. I'm going to place an additional flag on your account for attempted unauthorized access. If anyone tries to access your accounts in any way, you'll receive an immediate notification. Thank you," I said, relief flooding through me. "Is there anything else I can help you with tonight?" "That's all. Thank you so much." I hung up and sat in the dark kitchen, processing what had just happened. My family hadn't just asked for money I didn't want to give. They'd tried to take it. They'd seen my boundary and immediately tried to go around it. My phone rang. My mother. I didn't answer. It rang again. Claire this time. I sent it to voicemail. Marcus called. Then my father. Then my mother again. I turned my phone off entirely. I went upstairs, checked on Ethan, who was sleeping peacefully, and got into my own bed. I should have felt terrible. I should have felt guilty or anxious or scared about what I'd just done. Instead, I felt free. I woke up Thursday morning to the sound of my phone buzzing insistently. I'd turned it back on when I woke up, and now it was making up for lost time. 17 missed calls. 42 text messages. I made coffee first. I checked on Ethan, who was still asleep. Then, and only then, did I start reading the messages. Most were variations on the same theme. How dare I? Who did I think I was? I was ruining Claire's wedding. I was being selfish. I was being cruel. I was going to regret this. My mother's texts were the most intense. The first few were angry. The later ones were guilt trips. After everything we've done for you, family is supposed to stick together. You're breaking your father's heart. But nowhere, in any of the messages, was an apology for missing Ethan's surgery. Nowhere was an acknowledgement that they'd done anything wrong. It was all about how I was failing them. I was about to put the phone down when it rang again. An unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Hello? Miss Anderson? This is Robert Peterson, the manager at First National Bank. My stomach dropped. Yes. I wanted to give you a courtesy call about an incident that occurred at our branch yesterday afternoon. Your mother came in requesting access to your accounts. What? She presented what she claimed was a notarized letter granting her medical power of attorney. She stated that you've been experiencing cognitive decline and making irrational financial decisions. I couldn't breathe. What? She brought documentation claiming you have early, onset dementia and that she needed to be granted access to your accounts to protect you from yourself. I'm 32 years old, I said, my voice shaking. I don't have dementia. I'm fully competent. I suspected as much, Mr. Peterson said. The documentation seemed irregular, and frankly, we have notes on your account about your employment at Mercy General Hospital. It seemed unlikely that someone in your position would be experiencing the kind of cognitive decline she was describing. What did you do? I told her I needed to verify the documentation before making any changes. She became quite agitated and insisted it was urgent. I explained that for the protection of our customers, we always verify power of attorney documents, especially when the customer in question has recently changed their security settings. Thank you, I said. Thank you so much for checking. That's not all. Mr. Peterson continued. When I suggested she wait while we contacted you, she said that wouldn't be necessary because you wouldn't remember anyway. That's when I knew something wasn't right. I've flagged her in our system. She's been permanently restricted from any access to your accounts, and if she attempts anything like this again, well, contact the authorities. Can I press charges? The words came out before Id fully thought them through. That's up to you. What she did could constitute fraud and attempted financial exploitation. I'd be happy to provide you with all documentation if you want to pursue legal action. Let me think about it, I said. But thank you. If you hadn't called, I wouldn't have known. That's why I called, Mr. Peterson said. Take care of yourself, Miss Anderson, and consider a fraud alert on your credit reports. If she's willing to go this far, she might try other things. After I hung up, I just sat there. My mother had tried to have me declared incompetent so she could steal my money. She'd forged documents. She'd lied to a bank. She'd crossed from entitled and selfish into actual criminal behavior. And she'd done it all because Id said no. I called Jordan. She answered on the first ring. Please tell me you're calling because you finally snapped and you need me to help hide a body, she said. Despite everything, I laughed. Not quite. But I need help. Tell me. I told her everything. The 50 cents, the locked accounts, the attempted transfers, the bank manager's call this morning about the fake power of attorney. Jordan was silent for a long moment. Then, we're getting you a lawyer. I don't want to send my mother to jail. Maybe not. But you need someone who can send a very clear message that this stops now. This isn't family drama anymore. This is fraud, attempted theft, and forgery. This is serious. She was right. I knew she was right. I have a friend who does family law, Jordan said. Let me call her. Can you meet today? Ethan's still recovering. Bring him. She has a kid, friendly office. This can't wait. 2 hours later, I was sitting in the office of Amanda Torres, attorney at law. Ethan was in the waiting room with a stack of dinosaur books and a promise of ice cream afterward. Amanda was about my age, professional but warm, and she listened to my story without interrupting. When I finished, she leaned back in her chair. This is actually pretty straightforward from a legal standpoint. You have attempted fraud, attempted theft, and forgery. Any one of those could result in criminal charges. I don't want to send my mother to jail, I said again. I understand. But you need to protect yourself. What if next time she succeeds? What if she tries something else? Identity theft? Credit cards in your name. I hadn't thought of that. What do you suggest? A cease and desist letter. Formal, legal, scary. It outlines everything they've done, states clearly that it's illegal, and informs them that any further attempts will result in criminal prosecution. Most people, when faced with actual legal consequences, back down. And if they don't, then we pursue charges. But let's hope it doesn't come to that. Amanda drafted the letter while I waited. It was 3 pages long, single, spaced, full of legal language that boiled down to, "Stop or go to jail." "I need you to do one more thing," Amanda said. "Call a family meeting. Neutral location. Give them the letter in person. Let them see you're serious. They won't come. They'll come. Tell them you want to apologize. They'll come." She was probably right. That afternoon, I sent a text to the family group chat. The first message I'd sent since all of this started. "Family meeting, Saturday, 10 a.m., corner coffee shop downtown. I want to talk." My mother responded immediately. "It's about time you came to your senses. Claire, will you have a check?" I didn't respond to either of them. Saturday morning arrived gray and cold, typical November weather. I dressed carefully, professionally. I wore my work clothes, the ones I wore when I had to present budget reports to the hospital board. I needed to feel like I had armor. Ethan was spending the morning with Jordan and her husband. He didn't need to see this. I arrived at the coffee shop at 9:45. Ordered a black coffee I wouldn't drink. Sat at a large table in the back corner. Placed a manila folder in the center of the table. My family arrived at 10 on the dot. All of them. My mother. My father. Claire. Marcus. They looked annoyed, impatient, like I was wasting their time. "This better be good," Claire said as she sat down. "I have dress shopping later." "It is," I said calmly. My mother reached across the table like she was going to pat my hand. I moved it away. Her eyes narrowed. "So," my father said, "are we going to talk about what's been going on?" "Yes," I said. I opened the folder and pulled out 4 sets of documents. I'd made copies for each of them. I slid them across the table. "What's this?" Marcus asked, not touching his copy. "A complete record of every time I've given you money in the past 8 years, with dates and amounts." My mother's face went pale. Claire picked up her copy and started reading, her expression shifting. "8,000 to Claire for college." I read out loud. "Never repaid. 12,000 to Marcus for his business. 3,000 repaid. 6 mortgage payments for mom and dad, over $12,000 total. Various smaller loans and gifts totaling another 6,000. Grand total, $42,000. We're family," my mother said. "You don't keep track of family help." "I'm not done," I said. I pulled out another set of papers. "This is my credit card statement. Claire, you've charged $1,700 in the past 6 months. Unauthorized charges since you never asked." Claire's face flushed red. "And this," I said, pulling out the final document, "is a report from my bank about attempted unauthorized withdrawals and attempted fraud." I watched my mother's face very carefully when I said that. "You tried to take $5,000 from my account without permission," I said, my voice steady. "When I locked you out, you went to the bank with a forged power of attorney claiming I have dementia." My father's head snapped toward my mother. "You did what?" "I was trying to help," my mother said, but her voice was weak. "Help," I repeated. "You tried to steal from me. You tried to have me declared mentally incompetent so you could control my money. That's not help, that's fraud." The table was silent. "Here is what's going to happen," I said. I pulled out the final document, the cease and desist letter from Amanda Torres. I placed one in front of each of them. "You will never ask me for money again. You will never access my accounts again. You will never attempt to manipulate my finances in any way. If you do, I will pursue criminal charges. The bank has all the documentation. So does my lawyer." My mother's eyes filled with tears, but they looked calculated. "You'd really send your own mother to jail. You tried to steal from me 3 days after you skipped my son's surgery," I said. "So yes, if you push me, I will." "This is ridiculous," Claire said, standing up. "It's my wedding. How am I supposed to get my dress? The same way everyone else does. Budget for it. Save for it. But you're not getting it from me. You're being selfish," she said. "No," I said. "I'm being reasonable. You're being entitled." Marcus, who'd been quiet this whole time, spoke up. "I didn't know about the bank thing. That's messed up, Mom." My mother turned on him. "Stay out of this." "No," he said, surprising everyone. "She's right. We've been treating her like an ATM. I never thought about it before, but she's right." My father was reading the cease and desist letter, his face grave. "This is from a real lawyer." "Yes," I said. "And she's prepared to file charges if necessary. Over money." my mother said. You'd destroy this family over money. You destroyed it when you missed Ethan's surgery to go to brunch, I said. The money just made it obvious. I stood up. If you can accept these boundaries, we can slowly try to have a relationship. If you can't, then we're done. Your choice. I walked out of the coffee shop without looking back. My phone rang before I even got to my car. My father. I answered. Yes. Can we talk? Just you and me. About what? I didn't know, he said. About most of it. I didn't know you paid our mortgage for 6 months. I didn't know about the college money or the business loan. Your mother handles all our finances. She tells me what I need to know. And I guess I never asked questions. You knew about the surgery, I said. I did, he admitted. And I have no excuse for that. Your mother said you told her you didn't need us there, that you wanted to handle it alone. I never said that. I know that now, he said. I'm starting to realize a lot of things. There was a long pause. I unlocked my car but didn't get in. What your mother did at the bank, my father continued. I didn't know about that until just now. That's not okay. That's not what family does. No, I agreed. It's not. I'm sorry, he said. Truly. I should have been there for Ethan's surgery. I should have been paying attention. I should have been a better father and a better grandfather. It was the first real apology I'd gotten from anyone. Can I take Ethan to the park this weekend? He asked. Just him and me? I want to make it up to him. If you don't show up, there won't be another chance. I said. I'll be there, he said. I promise. And this time, I mean it. I wanted to believe him. Part of me was still that little girl who wanted her father's approval, who wanted her family to be who she'd always hoped they were. Okay, I said. Saturday at 2. Text me before you come. I will. I hung up and got in my car. My hands were shaking, but I'd done it. I'd set boundaries. I'd stood up for myself. And the world hadn't ended. Actually, for the first time in a long time, I felt like maybe things might actually get better. The week that followed was strange. Quiet. My phone didn't ring constantly. No one texted demanding anything. It was like cutting the cord had created actual space in my life. Ethan recovered fully. By the end of the week, he was back to his normal, energetic self, building elaborate dinosaur habitats out of couch cushions, and explaining to me in great detail about the dietary habits of various pterosaurs. My father did text before coming on Saturday. On my way. Should arrive at 2:15. He actually showed up at 2:12. I watched from the window as he got out of his car, looking nervous in a way I'd never seen him before. Ethan ran outside, and I saw my father's face light up. They drove off to the park, and I spent 2 hours anxiously checking my phone. They came back at 4:30, both of them happy. Ethan was talking a mile a minute about feeding ducks and going on the swings. My father looked lighter somehow. Same time next week? He asked. Yeah? I said. Same time. He kept his promise the next week too. And the week after that. Slowly, I started to trust that maybe this change was real. Marcus reached out 2 weeks after the coffee shop meeting. He didn't call or text. He sent a check. $500. A note attached, first installment. I'll send more every month until we're even. I'm sorry. It wasn't the full $12,000 he owed me, but it was a start. More than that. It was acknowledgement. Claire, surprisingly, was the one who took the longest to come around. Her wedding was in 6 weeks, and from what I heard through the family grapevine, it was causing tension between her and my mother. Mom was pushing for an expensive wedding that Claire couldn't afford now that she couldn't rely on my money. 3 weeks after the coffee shop meeting, Claire showed up at my house. It was a Tuesday evening, and I wasn't expecting anyone. When I opened the door, she looked different. Less polished, more tired. Can we talk? She asked. I let her in. Made tea. We sat at my kitchen table, the same table where Id sat the night Id sent that 50 cents, and waited. I've been thinking a lot. Claire started. About everything. About the surgery and the money and all of it. I didn't say anything. Mom couldn't help with my dress. Claire continued. After you cut her off financially, she didn't have the money she thought she'd have. So I had to look at my actual budget. And I bought a dress for $1,200. It's beautiful. Not the $5,000 dress I wanted, but beautiful. And I realized something. She looked up at me. I realized I've never actually budgeted for anything in my life. I've always just asked you or mom or someone else when I ran short. I've never had to plan or save or make hard choices. Most people do, I said, not unkindly. I know. I know that now. And I'm sorry. The apology hung in the air between us. I'm sorry I missed Ethan's surgery, she said, and her voice cracked. I was at yoga class because Eid forgotten. I literally forgot because it didn't seem important to me. And that's terrible. That says terrible things about me. Yes. I agreed. It does. I took you for granted, Claire said. We all did. You were always just there, always helping, always available. It never occurred to me that you might need something from us. I felt tears building but pushed them back. Do you know what the worst part was? Not that you forgot, but that you saw the picture I sent from the hospital and your response was, oops, totally forgot. Like it was nothing. Claire's face crumpled. I know. I've been looking at that text for weeks. I don't even recognize the person who sent that. Who is that person? I asked. Someone selfish, Claire said. Someone who never had to think about anyone but herself because her big sister always took care of everything. We sat in silence for a moment. I want to do better, Claire said. I want to be the kind of sister who shows up, the kind of aunt Ethan deserves. But I don't know if you'll give me another chance. I thought about it, really thought about it. I want to give you a chance. But things have to be different. They will be, Claire said. I'm getting my own credit cards. I'm making my own budget. I'm planning my own wedding, without expecting anyone else to fund it. And I'm going to start showing up. Okay, I said. We can try. She stood up to leave, then turned back. I know this doesn't make up for anything, but would you come to my wedding? As my sister, not as a piggy bank. Just as my sister. Yeah, I said. I'll come. After she left, I felt something shift. Not forgiveness exactly, but maybe the beginning of it. My mother was a different story. She didn't reach out, didn't apologize. I heard from my father that they were separating, which shocked me until I realized it maybe shouldn't have. She's been controlling everything for so long, my father said during one of his park visits with Ethan. The finances, the family narrative, who talks to who. I didn't see it until you shined a light on it. Are you okay? I asked. I will be, he said. I should have done this years ago. I'm getting an apartment, starting over. Trying to figure out who I am when I'm not just going along with whatever she says. It was sad and hopeful at the same time. 4 weeks after the coffee shop meeting, I got a call from Mr. Peterson at the bank. I wanted to give you an update, he said. Your mother attempted to open a credit card in your name last week. My stomach dropped. What? She was denied because of the fraud alert on your credit. But I thought you should know. We've filed a report with the fraud department, and I'd recommend you check your credit reports regularly. Thank you for telling me. We take this seriously, Mr. Peterson said. Your case actually prompted us to review all our power of attorney procedures. We've already prevented 2 similar fraud attempts because of the new protocols. I hadn't thought about it that way. My standing up for myself had protected other people too. There's something else, Mr. Peterson said. Between you and me, what your family did, what they tried to do, it's not uncommon. Financial exploitation, especially by family members, happens more than people think. Most people don't fight back because they're afraid of losing their family. You did. And that matters. After we hung up, I thought about that. I had fought back. I'd set boundaries. I'd refused to let them steal from me, financially or emotionally. And yes, I'd lost the family I thought I had. But maybe I'd never really had that family in the first place. The wedding arrived on a cold Saturday in December. It was smaller than Claire had originally planned, held in a community center instead of a fancy venue. About 50 people, instead of the 200 shed invited. The dress shed bought for $1,200 was beautiful, elegant, and simple. I went with Ethan, who was excited to be a ring bearer. He looked adorable in his little suit, carrying the rings with such serious concentration that everyone smiled. The ceremony was lovely. Claire looked happy. Her fiancé, Tom, seemed like a genuinely good guy. I sat with my father, who'd driven in alone. My mother was there, sitting on the other side of the room, surrounded by her friends but somehow looking isolated. At the reception, I mostly hung out with Ethan, making sure he ate and didn't drink too much punch. Claire came over during a quiet moment. "Thank you for coming," she said. "Of course, I mean it. After everything, you still showed up. That means a lot." I hugged her, and it felt genuine for the first time in a long time. Later, my father asked me to dance. The DJ was playing something slow, and we swayed on the dance floor, neither of us particularly graceful. "I moved out last month," he said suddenly. I looked at him in surprise. "Moved out? Your mother and I are separating." What she did, the lying, the manipulation, the attempted fraud, it opened my eyes to a lot of things I'd been ignoring. "I'm sorry," I said, and meant it. "Don't be," he said. "I should have done it years ago. She's been controlling everything, controlling everyone, and I just went along with it because it was easier than fighting." "What are you going to do?" "I got an apartment near the park where I take Ethan. I'm working on being my own person for the first time in 35 years. It's scary but good." He paused, then looked at me directly. "I'm proud of you. For standing up for yourself, for setting boundaries, for teaching me that it's possible to say no to people you love when they're hurting you." I felt tears building. "Thanks, Dad. I should have protected you," he said. "When you were growing up, when you were being pushed into the role of caretaker, I should have stepped in. I should have made sure you got to be a kid, got to be selfish sometimes. I failed you. You're here now," I said. "That matters." "I won't miss another important day," he said. "That's a promise." I believed him. Across the room, I saw my mother watching us. She looked angry and sad and lost all at once. Part of me felt bad for her, but mostly I felt free. 3 months after Claire's wedding, life had settled into a new normal. It was different from before, but better in ways I hadn't expected. Ethan was thriving. No more constant infections, no more missed school days. Head made the honor roll for the first time, something he was incredibly proud of. And he had a relationship with his grandfather that was real and consistent. Every Saturday at 2, my father showed up. They went to the park, or the Natural History Museum, or out for ice cream. They had inside jokes and traditions, and Ethan glowed with the attention. Marcus had paid back $3,000 so far, sending $500 every month like clockwork. Head also started showing up to family events, small things, birthday parties and casual dinners, but he was there. He was trying. Claire called every couple of weeks just to talk. Not to ask for anything, just to chat about her life, her new marriage, her job. Shed sent Ethan a birthday present on time, and she remembered to text the morning of his follow-up appointment with Dr. Chen. She was becoming the sister it always wanted. My father had transformed. Living alone, being independent, had become more present, more engaged. Had started therapy. Something he admitted to me during one of our conversations. Trying to figure out why I let myself disappear for so many years. Head said. He was finding himself again, and in the process, he was becoming a better father and grandfather. My mother was a different story. Shed reached out a few times through other family members, always with excuses or justifications, never with a real apology. Shed tried to paint me as the villain in her version of events, but most of the family saw through it. They'd started asking their own questions, looking at their own relationships with her, and coming to uncomfortable conclusions. I felt bad for her in some ways. Shed lost control of her family, lost her marriage, lost the financial support Shed been depending on. But Shed brought it on herself through manipulation and dishonesty. I couldn't save her from the consequences of her own actions. My life was simpler now, quieter. I had more money in my savings account because I wasn't constantly funding other people's emergencies. I had more time because I wasn't always dropping everything to help someone who wouldn't help me in return. I had more peace because I wasn't walking on eggshells trying to keep everyone happy. On a Saturday in late March, I was at the park with Ethan and my father. It was one of those perfect spring days, warm but not hot, with cherry blossoms starting to bloom. Ethan was on the playground, climbing and sliding and laughing. My father and I sat on a bench watching him. "He's a great kid," my father said. "He is. You did that. You raised him right. All on your own, even when the rest of us weren't there." "I had help," I said. "Jordan was there. Some co-workers. Ethan's teacher. You don't do it alone, even when your family isn't around." "But we should have been," my father said. That's what I'm saying. You shouldn't have had to find other people to lean on. We should have been the ones you could count on. He was right, but it didn't hurt as much to acknowledge anymore. I learned something through all of this, I said, about family and boundaries and what real love looks like. What did you learn? That loving someone doesn't mean letting them hurt you. That family isn't just about blood, it's about who shows up. That setting boundaries isn't cruel, it's necessary. And that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is stop enabling people and start expecting better. My father nodded slowly. I'm still learning that. Me too. Ethan ran over, breathless and excited. Grandpa, come push me on the swings. My father stood up immediately. Let's go. I watched them walk away together, hand in hand, and felt a contentment I hadn't felt in years. That evening, after Ethan was in bed, I sat in my living room looking through photos on my phone. There was one from the hospital, from the day of the surgery, Ethan sleeping in the recovery room, just me and him. At the time, it had been the loneliest moment of my life. But looking at it now, I saw something different. I saw strength. I saw a mother who showed up when it mattered. I saw the beginning of understanding my own worth. I thought about that 50 cents I'd sent to Claire. That tiny act of defiance that had changed everything. It hadn't been cruel or vindictive. It had been honest. It had been me finally saying, enough. And everything that came after, the locked accounts, the lawyer, the confrontation, all of it had been me continuing to say, I matter. My needs matter. My son matters. I'd been so afraid of losing my family. But in trying to keep them, I'd been losing myself. And once I stopped trying to hold on to something that was never really there, I'd found what I actually needed. Respect, boundaries, relationships based on mutual care instead of one-sided sacrifice. My phone buzzed. A text from Jordan. How was the park? Good, I typed back. Really good. Proud of you. She sent. You did the hard thing, and it worked out. She was right. I'd done the hard thing. I'd set boundaries with people I loved, knowing I might lose them. Some of them I did lose. But the ones who really mattered, the ones who were capable of growth and change, they'd risen to meet me. I opened my banking app, something I did regularly now. My savings account was growing. My credit score was excellent. My financial future was secure. But more than that, I knew that no one was going to take from me without my permission ever again. I thought about Mr. Peterson at the bank, and how my case had changed their procedures. I thought about other people out there, dealing with family members who exploited them financially, who might be protected now because I'd stood up for myself. I thought about Ethan, growing up watching his mother set boundaries and demand respect. He was learning that love doesn't mean accepting mistreatment. He was learning that it's okay to say no. He was learning that he was worth showing up for. Those were lessons I'd had to learn as an adult, through pain and betrayal. But he was learning them young, through example. That felt like breaking a cycle. The next morning, I woke up to sunlight streaming through my window. It was Sunday, and I didn't have any obligations. No family drama to navigate, no emergency calls to answer, no last-minute demands on my time or money. Ethan climbed into my bed around 7, still sleepy and warm. We lay there together, talking about nothing important, what he wanted for breakfast, whether we should go to the Natural History Museum again, if Triceratops were really better than Stegosaurus, an ongoing debate in our house. Mom, he said after a while. Yeah, baby. Are you happy? The question caught me off guard. What makes you ask that? You seem different, like lighter or something. From the mouths of children. I'm happy, I said, and realized it was true. Happier than I've been in a long time. Good, he said, snuggling closer. You deserve to be happy. I kissed the top of his head. So do you. Later that day, my phone rang. Claire's name on the screen. I answered. Hey, what's up? Nothing urgent, she said. I just wanted to call and say thank you. For what? For not giving up on me. For giving me a chance to be better. I know I didn't deserve it, but you did anyway. You're my sister, I said simply. I want to be the kind of sister who deserves that title, Claire said. I'm working on it. I can see that. Can we get coffee this week? Just you and me? My treat. I smiled. Yeah, I'd like that. After we hung up, I thought about how far we'd come. From that coffee shop confrontation where Id handed out cease and desist letters to planning a casual coffee date as sisters. It felt like progress. My father called that afternoon. I wanted to ask you something. Okay. I'm thinking about taking Ethan fishing next weekend. Like a real overnight trip, camping and everything. Would you be okay with that? A few months ago, I would have said no immediately. I wouldn't have trusted him to follow through, to keep Ethan safe, to actually show up. But He'd proven himself consistently. He'd kept every promise. He'd become someone I could trust. He'd love that. I said. Let me talk to him about it. Thank you, my father said, for giving me the chance to be the grandfather I should have been from the start. You're doing great, I said. And meant it. That evening, I sat down with my laptop and opened a document I'd been thinking about for a while. I started typing. A letter to my younger self. I titled it, Dear Past Me. You're going to spend a lot of years believing that your worth comes from how much you sacrifice for others. You're going to believe that love means giving endlessly, even when nothing comes back. You're going to be afraid that setting boundaries means losing people. I'm here to tell you that you're wrong about all of that. Your worth isn't in what you give up. It's in who you are, and who you are is enough, just as you are, without the constant sacrifice. Love should be reciprocal. It should be people showing up for each other, not one person giving while everyone else takes. Real love can handle boundaries. Real love respects them. And yes, you will lose people when you set boundaries. But here's the secret. The people you lose were never really there for you anyway. They were there for what you could give them. That's not love. That's exploitation. The people who truly love you, who truly value you, they'll rise to meet your standards. They'll do the work to change. They'll prove they deserve to be in your life. It's going to be scary. You're going to feel guilty. You're going to doubt yourself. You're going to worry that you're being selfish. But you're not selfish. You're finally being fair to yourself. And on the other side of that fear is freedom. Peace. Relationships that actually nourish you instead of draining you. A life that belongs to you. It's worth it. I promise you, it's worth it. Love. Your future self. I saved the document and closed my laptop. Maybe someday, I'd share it. Maybe it would help someone else who was where I'd been, trapped in a cycle of giving and receiving nothing back. But for now, it was enough that I'd written it. That I'd acknowledged how far I'd come. I went upstairs and checked on Ethan one more time. He was sound asleep, Spike the Triceratops tucked under his arm. I stood in his doorway, watching him breathe, and felt overwhelming gratitude. This was what I'd fought for. Not perfect family relationships or fairy tale endings, just this. Peace, security, a life built on honesty instead of obligation, a son who was learning healthy boundaries, a father who was becoming someone I could trust, a sister who was trying to grow. It wasn't everything I'd hoped for when I was younger, but it was real, and it was enough. The next morning, Monday, I went back to work. My first day back at Mercy General since all of this had started. I walked through the halls of the hospital, the same halls where I'd waited during Ethan's surgery, and felt different. Jordan caught me at my office. Look at you. You're glowing. Am I? You are. This is what standing up for yourself looks like. She was right. I felt lighter, stronger, more myself than I'd been in years. That afternoon, Mr. Peterson from the bank called again. Miss Anderson. I hope I'm not bothering you. Not at all. Is everything okay? Everything's fine. I wanted to let you know that based on your case, we've implemented new training for all our staff on recognizing financial exploitation. We've already prevented 4 similar situations. That's amazing. You standing up for yourself didn't just protect you. It's protecting other people too. I thought you should know that. After we hung up, I sat at my desk thinking about ripple effects, how one small act of courage could spread outward, touching people I'd never meet. How setting boundaries wasn't just about me, it was about showing others that it was possible. 3 months turned into 6. 6 turned into a year. Life continued, not perfect but good. Really, genuinely good. Claire's marriage was solid. Shed learned to manage her own finances, make her own decisions, stand on her own feet. She was proud of herself in a way Shed never been before. Marcus had paid back almost $8,000. Wed had dinner a few times, real conversations about life and family, and what Wed all been through. He was doing better too. making better choices, being more thoughtful. My father was like a different person. He had his own apartment, his own life, and a genuine relationship with his grandson. He showed up. Every single time. Had become the father it always needed. My mother had reached out once, a long, rambling email full of excuses and justifications but no real apology. I'd read it, acknowledged it, and moved on. I didn't owe her forgiveness she hadn't earned. Maybe someday she'd do the work. Maybe she wouldn't. Either way, it wasn't my responsibility. On the 1-year anniversary of Ethan's surgery, I woke up and checked my phone. A text from my father. Remember what today is. I'm sorry I wasn't there. But I'm here now. Breakfast at our place? I'll make pancakes. I smiled. Well, be there. Another text from Claire. Thinking about you and Ethan today. Love you both. And Marcus. Hey sis. Hope you and the kid are doing good today. They remembered. They showed up, even if just through a text message. It meant something. That afternoon, Ethan and I went to the park. Just us. We sat on our favorite bench. The same one where Eid sat with my father. And I told him something he'd been thinking about. You know what I learned this past year? I said. What? That real family isn't about who you're related to. It's about who shows up. It's about who keeps their promises. It's about people who love you enough to do better when they mess up. Ethan thought about that. So Grandpa is real family now? Yeah, he is, because he chose to be. What about Grandma? I considered how to answer that. Grandma made different choices. Maybe someday she'll make better ones. But right now she's not. That's sad, Ethan said. It is, I agreed, but it's not our job to fix her. Our job is to take care of ourselves and love the people who love us back. He nodded, wise beyond his years. I love you, Mom. I love you too, baby. We sat in comfortable silence, watching the clouds move across the sky. I thought about that morning in the hospital, sitting alone in the waiting room, feeling like my world was ending. It'd been right that something was ending. But it wasn't my world. It was a version of my life that had never been sustainable, where I gave everything and received nothing, where I martyred myself for people who didn't appreciate it. What it built in its place was better, smaller maybe, more selective, but real, based on mutual respect and genuine care, based on people showing up when it mattered. I pulled out my phone and opened my banking app, something I still did regularly. My savings account showed a healthy balance. My investments were growing. My financial future was secure. But more than that, I was secure. In who I was, in what I deserved, in my ability to protect myself and my son. That was worth more than any amount of money. As the sun started to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, I felt profound gratitude, not for the pain it'd been through, but for what it had taught me. I'd learned that you can't love people into treating you better. They have to choose it themselves. I'd learned that setting boundaries isn't cruel. It's essential. I'd learned that sometimes the people you lose when you stand up for yourself were never really yours to begin with. I'd learned that financial independence is about more than money. It's about power and choice and freedom. But most importantly, I'd learned that I was worth showing up for. That my needs mattered. That my son's, well, being mattered more than my family's comfort. And in learning that, I'd finally found peace. So here's what I want you to take from my story. You don't owe anyone access to your life, your time, your money, or your heart just because you're related. Family is earned through actions, not given through blood. Setting boundaries isn't selfish. It's self-preservation. And the people who truly love you will respect those boundaries. The ones who don't were never really there for you anyway. Your worth isn't measured by how much you give or sacrifice. It's inherent. You matter. Your needs matter. Your boundaries matter. And if you're in a situation like I was, being taken for granted and taken advantage of, please know, you can change it. It won't be easy. It might hurt. You might lose people you thought you couldn't live without. But on the other side of that fear is freedom, peace, a life that actually belongs to you. You're worth fighting for. You're worth showing up for. Don't ever forget that. Now, I have a question for you. Have you ever had to set boundaries with family members who were taking advantage of you? How did it turn out? I'd love to hear your stories in the comments below. And if this story resonated with you, please hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel for more real life stories. and share this with someone who might need to hear it. Your support means everything, and knowing these stories help people makes all the difference. Thank you so much for listening to my journey. I hope it brings you comfort, strength, or maybe just the reminder that you're not alone. Take care of yourselves, and remember, you deserve to be treated with respect, kindness, and love. Until next time.